You are listening to the Becoming the Wealthy You podcast with Jermaine Foley. If you're a woman who makes good money in your career or business, but you're not building wealth like you want to, then you're in the right place. In this podcast, you'll learn how to stop overspending, break free from the cycle of debt, save lots of cash, and become the wealthy woman you were born to be. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. So today I'm super excited because I am dedicating this entire episode to talk about doing both, right? I've coined this the do both method, which means that you get to build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. So if you've been around for a while, you've heard me talk about this, but I wanted to dedicate an entire episode to it because I really do think there's a 3-part framework to doing this, right? It sounds amazing. Build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. But how do you actually do that? That's what we're going to unpack today. Because I truly believe that when some of you hear me say that, you are like, yeah, right. How in the world can you do that? How can you build wealth and enjoy life? You have to choose. And the reason why we believe that is because that's what we've been sold. We've been told that in order to get your money under control, in order to get out of debt, to save or to invest, you need to give up your lattes. You need to stop going to restaurants. You need to eat rice and beans and coupon and all of that. And I want you to know that none of it is true. I've proved it to be wrong. And it's because of this right here. When my husband and I were deep in debt, we were in over $200,000 worth of debt. I completely, just buried my head in the sand because I thought the only way we're going to be able to get out of this debt and to really get our finances under control is if we do all the things I just named, give up everything, no vacations, no nothing. And I just couldn't wrap my brain around that. It was this narrative that was really being pushed at the time that, wait until retirement to live. And that, again, it just didn't resonate with me. It actually made my skin crawl. And so I just ignored my money. I'm like, we're going to live. We're going to figure it out. We'll figure this money thing out later. Let's just live our lives. But then it got to a point where the financial stress was just too much. And I was willing to do anything that I needed to do to get back in control, to feel some peace around my finances. So I read books, I devoured them, and I went to my husband and I was just like, listen, something has to change. I cannot keep living like this. And this is what has to change. We need to give up pretty much our lifestyle. We need to eat rice and beans. We need to stop going on vacations. The kids are not doing any more extracurricular activities. I'm not shopping. I'm going to start couponing. No more anything. And he looked at me like, who are you? What have you done with my wife? And absolutely not. We definitely need to get our money under control. That's what he said. But we can't do it like that. At this time, again, we had $200,000 in debt. That could have taken decades, right? Based on where my mindset was at that time, that felt like I would just be in debt forever. And our kids at the time were young. And he was just very adamant about being able to create experiences with them, being able to nurture our relationship and things like that. And when he said that to me, when he said, we have to do something, but we can't live like that, that is when the light bulb moment went off for me. And that is when I started to question everything because it really didn't make sense when you think about it. Why can't you get out of debt and go on vacation? Why can't you save and still buy a latte? Why can't you invest and still look nice and buy nice clothes? Like, why couldn't you do both? And that is where the do both method was born. Figure out a way to do both, build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. And once I held on to that, everything else has been history, right? We've done it. We've paid off over $200,000 worth of debt. We took vacations. We went on date nights. Our kids were well-rounded. And we were able to manage to get out of debt and save and invest. We actually went from being over $200,000 in debt to having over $750,000 net worth. We're very close to $1 million based on all of our assets. So I'm telling you that this is possible. And if I can do it, you can do it. And this is what I help my clients do. So I wanted to do this episode because I know there are so many of you who can relate, right? You are doing your thing. You are making really good money, 100K, 150K, 200K, multiple six figures. Everything looks great from the outside looking in. You have the career, the house, the car, you're taking the trips, you look the part. But on the inside, you know, just like I did, that your finances were not where you wanted them to be. And you feel like you should be so much further along by now, by how hard you work, by how strong your business is, by how much money you make in your career. And this could be showing up by you just constantly carrying $10,000 or $20,000 in credit card debt, right? You may pay it off, but somehow it comes right back. Your savings may not be where you want it to be. You can't get yourself to be able to keep a significant amount of money or cash in your life without spending it down, right? You're investing, but not to the level that you know you need to in order to be able to retire and live the same lifestyle you have now. And maybe your spending just feels out of control. I know mine did. I felt like my spending was out of control. When clients come to me, they feel the same way, right? And you know, all of this is going on financially, but you also don't want to have to give up everything you enjoy. You do not want to have to slash your lifestyle to shreds in order to fix it. You don't want to have to stop going on vacation, stop buying nice clothes, stop going to brunches or dinners out. You don't want to give those things up, yet you do want to build wealth. You want to live well now and build wealth for the future, right? And I know it again because this is what I wanted too. And as I stated earlier, a lot of us have been taught that this is not possible. We've been taught that in order to get ahead financially, you have to go on a strict budget. You need to stop eating out. You can't go on vacations. Stop buying lattes. There's actually a concept called the latte factor, right? Where it does this calculations. Well, if you stop buying lattes, then you can retire a millionaire. How about this? How about I'm going to buy lattes and still retire a millionaire? Like both are possible. Both can coexist. Right. And so that narrative just doesn't sit with me. And I know for many of you, it doesn't sit well with you either. And I want you to know you do not need to stop doing all the things that you enjoy in order to build wealth. You can do both. And I understand, and I really truly understand why so many people avoid their finances altogether. Because when the only version of money management you've ever learned about makes you want to scream, right, with misery, of course you don't want to do those things. And if you do try it for a little while, it doesn't last, right? You burn out, you give up, you fizzle out, and then you just tell yourself, see, I'm bad with money. This doesn't work for me. I'm just going to live my life and figure out this money thing later. But I'm telling you right now that you do not have to choose. You can do both. And I'm going to show you how. Literally, it's a 3-part little framework that I teach my clients. I'm going to give you a taste of it here so that you can understand and believe to your core that you can do both. You can build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. And I truly believe once you understand that, then you will open yourself up to change your financial situation, right? Because a lot of us are staying stuck. We're avoiding things. We're not looking at our numbers. We're not looking at our debt. We're not making a plan to pay it off. We're not committing to changing our financial lives because we do not want to spend the next 10 years living this life of misery where you can't do anything. And I don't blame you. So let's go ahead and get into the framework. Okay, so the do both method is super simple. Do both stands for the fact that you can build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. It's a 3-part framework, just as I said. So what I'm going to do is give you those 3 parts now, and then I'm going to break them down in just a few minutes. So 1, you stop spending on things that do not truly matter to you. 2, you start spending intentionally on things that do. And 3, you use the rest of the money that you've now freed up to build wealth. That's it. That's the framework. It's very, very simple. But simple does not always mean easy. I get that. Because if you're used to money coming in and going right back out, this requires you to slow all the way down and really look at where your money is going. Not from beating yourself up or shame, but from honesty, right? Just being honest with ourselves. Because the goal here, if you listen to the framework, is not to stop spending. The goal is to stop spending on things that are not actually creating the life you want, and then redirect all of that freed up money towards the things that do. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at each part individually. Part 1, stop spending on things that do not truly matter to you, right? And I want to be clear, this is not about judging categories, because I could spend on shoes and somebody else can spend on handbags. Neither one is right or wrong. It is based on what truly matters to you. Okay, someone could spend on, like I said, shoes, handbags. The other person can spend on vacations. The other person can spend on conveniences and time savers. We're not judging categories. And this is one of the areas I think personal finance have gone really, really wrong, is that we judge people for how they choose to spend their money, or we judge people for what's important to them, right? There was an article put out years ago that depicted a person who makes, really good money, but they spend, thousands of dollars a year on shoes. And on the outside, that could seem frivolous. But because of the amount of money that person was making and the amount of money they were investing and how they were not in debt and how they had plenty of money saved in a high yield savings account, like that amount they were spending on shoes was nothing for them, right? So we can't judge the category. So do not judge your categories. For some people, shoes might be huge, or their appearance may be huge. I work with clients all the time where their appearance is very, very important to them. And we make sure that they keep up their appearance. And then I have some clients who could care less about their appearance, but they want to go on really nice vacations, right? So you just have to figure out what matters to you. We're not judging categories. So I'm not saying that eating out is bad or shopping is bad or traveling is bad. You already know that. I just do not believe that. The question isn't, is this thing bad? The question is, does this thing actually matter to you? Does it enhance your life? Does it line up with what you value, right? Will you still feel good about this purchase or this thing that you're spending money on later, not just in the moment, but also later? Or is this just a instant gratification thing where you're spending because you're bored, tired, stressed, or overwhelmed, or just trying to keep up with social circles, or just not paying attention? A lot of the spending that we do as humans is just mindless. And I really want to help you to wake up to that mindless spending, right? So that is where a lot of money goes. It's not always these big dramatic purchases. Sometimes it's the spending that happens on autopilot, the things that you add to your cart just because you, like I said, are stressed. You had a long day and you're just trying to relieve some stress. You're indulging in retail therapy and you don't even realize it, right? Or you're saying, yes, you're going out to dinner with friends. And because when the waitress comes and asks, how are we doing the checks? Because it's uncomfortable, maybe there's this period of silence, you just raise your hand and say, I got it. When really, on the inside that you really weren't planning to buy dinner for everyone. That's what I mean by like mindless spending we do to avoid discomfort, spending that we do to make ourselves feel better, to boost our status. We really want to get to the bottom of those types of purchases so that we can free that money up to build wealth with. And we're going to get to that part in a little bit. So part 2 is spend intentionally on things that do matter. Right? So the second part is, okay, so we're going to stop spending on things that don't matter. But guess what? We get to actually intentionally spend on things that do matter. And this is the part I really want you to hear. Hear me when I say this. Building wealth does not mean that you stop enjoying your life. Your money is supposed to enhance your life and support your life. It's okay to enjoy it. It's okay to want nice things. It's okay to travel and to go to dinner. It's okay to buy nice clothes and to have a beautiful home. You already know that about me, but I got to keep saying it because I don't want you to miss it. We're not judging categories, but each person individually knows what really truly matters to them, right? So the question is, does this spending actually matter to me? And here are two really good questions that you can ask yourself. Is this good for me now and later? Or another way to ask the question is this purchase good for me in the short term and the long term? Because here's what I want you to know. A lot of the spending that we end up doing is just instant gratification. It feels good in the short term, but in the long term, it leaves you with regret, remorse, and beating yourself up, right? And so the sweet spot is spending that feels good now and it feels good later. It feels good in the short term and it feels good in the long term. And it doesn't have these consequences, these financial consequences that you have to deal with on the back end, right? So when you do a lot of impulse shopping, then it feels good in a moment. Yes, because you're getting that dopamine hit. But then once that dopamine settles down and you're stuck with the credit card bill and you're looking at it, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even need any of those things. Some of that stuff is still in the bag, still have tags on it. I haven't even worn it. I can't even remember what I bought. Those are things that didn't really matter, right? And so we want to spend on things that do. So for some of us, that could be vacations. That could be nice clothes. It could be beauty routines. It could be so many things. Dinner out with friends, but maybe everybody carries their own bill. You still get to be with them and socialize and be connected to them, but you don't have to take on the financial responsibility of that, right? You just pay for yourself and everyone pays for themselves. Like, isn't that just a clean way to do it? I know that in this world now, a lot of us feel responsible, especially if we're the one in the group that's obviously making more money than everybody else. We feel like we should, buy a round of drinks for everyone or pay for everyone's meal. And I promise you that that's not true. That is a thought that you're having, and it's a thought that is sucking up your money. And when I go out with my friends, we all just cover our own bills. I don't assume that they can't afford it, and they don't assume that I should be buying because I may make more. Like, that's not what friends do. The connection is still there. We still have a good time. We still laugh. We still joke. And they pay for their drinks. I pay for my drinks. They pay for their bill. I pay for my bill. And we have a fabulous time. And that's what I mean by it was good in the short term and it was good in the long term, because now I don't have to go home and think about, oh my gosh, I spent $300 or $500 and I really was just planning to buy my own food, right? You don't have to worry about that at that point. Okay, I'm not sure why I got on that little tangent about paying for everybody's food, but I think it's because it's something that I've seen my clients struggle with and I help them work through it. Especially, again, if you're the successful one, the one that's making the most money, you sometimes feel obligated. And I want to free you from that obligation now. But I know it can be really uncomfortable to have a situation where maybe you've been doing that for a while and you think people expect it when they probably are not. It's just you thinking that. And when the waitress comes and they ask, okay, how are we doing the bill? It might feel uncomfortable for you to just be silent or for you to say separate, please. Like, just try that on, because that can be very freeing for many of you. Because again, some spending feels good right now, but later it creates stress. It creates credit card debt. It creates regret. It creates that feeling of, I can't believe that I spent that much. And that's just not what we want anymore. But again, some spending feels good now and later. So just sticking with the restaurant example, it could be something like, hey, it's your friend's birthday and you treat her to brunch. Like, that feels good now and it's going to feel good later, right? But randomly and mindlessly and impulsively just picking up the tab for everyone when you weren't planning for it, when you know you have other priorities, that doesn't feel good on both sides of it. It may feel good in the moment, maybe, but then usually there's a negative consequence to deal with, right? And the same can be with vacations, right? There's a difference between taking a vacation that you've planned for, you paid for ahead of time, and you get to enjoy the trip. You create the memories. You come home, it's already paid for. The bill isn't following you. You're not wondering how you're going to pay for it. That is so different than, putting the entire trip on the credit card. Now you got to worry about that. That is intentional spending. It's not about cutting everything. It is about spending on what you truly value and deciding those things ahead of time. This is what I want to spend my money on. This is what I want to do for me. This is what is important to me. And I want to spend my money on those things, right? And the term you've heard me use for this before is values-based spending. It means to spend on what truly matters to you and to stop spending on what doesn't. And a lot of that is easier said than done because, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the spending that we do is to entertain ourselves. It is to avoid uncomfortable emotions. It's to soothe ourselves. So a lot of us, we don't have a spending problem. We have a feeling problem. We don't like to feel uncomfortable emotions, so we spend over them. But of course, that's another episode for another time. So we're going to keep it moving with the do both method. And now we're going to go to the third part, which is using that money that you're no longer mindlessly spending, using that to build wealth. That's when you free up cash to be able to build wealth. And this is the part that will change your financial life because the goal is not just to spend less. The goal is to redirect that money. Money that used to go towards things that really didn't matter to you now will go towards improving your financial position. It goes toward creating financial impact in your life, building your net worth. It can mean paying down high interest credit card and not just paying it down, but becoming the kind of woman who stays out, who only use your credit card for conveniences, not because that's how you pay for things. So you become the woman who doesn't carry credit card debt from month to month. Because getting out of debt is one thing, but staying out requires a different way of using money and being with money, right? It could also mean building your life happens fund so that when life happens, you have a cushion, a stash of money there to protect you. So you don't have to automatically rely on debt or have to panic. You just pay for it without any drama, without any problems. You just pay for it. Why? Because you have the money to do so. It could also mean investing more, learning how to make your money work for you. And that could be putting your money in the stock market, into real estate, into a business or other assets that can grow over time. Because here's the thing I really want you to know, especially as a high earner, your high income alone is not going to just magically build wealth for you. You have to be intentional about it. Right? Because building wealth is not just about how much money you make, it's what you do with the money that you make. It's about how much money you keep, how much you put it to work, right? It's why I talk about the skill of having money so much. In episode 179, I talked about the skill of having money, why you keep spending your savings. And that episode resonated with so many of you. I've gotten messages, all sorts of things just from that one episode. So if you haven't listened to episode 179, I really recommend that once this episode is over, you go right to 179. Even if you heard it before, it might be worth listening to it again because it was so good. That episode really resonated with so many of you because you saw yourself in it. It was really about the fact that we all have this money coming in. Maybe it's through your salary, through your business, through bonuses, commissions, and it starts to accumulate. And then something in your brain starts to make the case for why that money needs to go away, why it needs to leave. It could be something for the house, something for the kids, something you need, something you deserve. And honestly, it sounds valid, right? But if every time money accumulates, it gets assigned somewhere else, then you're never really going to experience what it means to have money. And so that episode really helps with that, right? And the do both method really helps with that because I'm not saying that you can never spend. I'm saying let's decide what spending truly matters. And let's also decide that we're going to use some of our money to build wealth. That is what it's all about. So here's what I want to leave you with. I want to end this episode the way I started it. Building wealth and enjoying life can coexist. You do not have to choose. And I think, again, because we've been taught that we have to choose, we do nothing. We avoid our finances and we say that we'll deal with it later and we dig ourselves in a hole that we just can't get out of. And here's the part that I may not have mentioned, but I'm going to mention it here. It's not even the financial piece that is the worst part of it. It is the mental burden that you're carrying. It's that quiet mental hum, that stress in the back of your mind telling you that you should be further along, that your credit card balances are too high, that your savings account is too low, and that your investments are not high enough, right? That is the part that is the worst. It's that mental, stressful hum in the background constantly reminding you that you should be doing more, that you should be further along. And I know it's easy to ignore that because I ignored that voice for a long time, but it never really went away. It never went away. And it would get loud at times, then it would get a little softer at times. And then it'll get loud again, then softer. And then it gets to a point where you're just tired of it. That's where I was. I'm like, I'm just tired of this voice. I know everything this voice is telling me is true. And it really is your brain trying to protect you. It's not even really trying to beat you up. It's just that part of you that knows that you could be doing better. It's like your conscious, honestly. It's like that conscious is just like, I don't know about this debt. I think we should have more by now. Our investments are just not where they need to be, right? And it's easy to ignore it. But I want you to know that you don't have to anymore because you can do both. You can enjoy your life and still take care of your finances. And that is what I love to do. I love working with women who are just like I was, making good money, overspending, in debt, very little savings, maybe some savings, but not as much as you want, and knowing that your investments were just not where you want them to be. And you don't want to give up your lifestyle. That is who I am here to help. I'm here to help you marry those two things, building your wealth and still enjoying your life. And I know some of you listening to me, many of you listening to me, that's what you want. And if that's what you want, I can help you. You can book a one-to-one money coaching consultation so we can see how we can figure out what that looks like for you. No cookie cutter approaches at all. I don't do a cookie cutter approach. Just like I said, we don't judge categories. Everybody's financial situation is different. Everyone's financial values are different. So there is no cookie cutter approach that I take with any of my clients. This is a customized private experience so that you can finally feel like your financial life reflects how hard you work and how much money you actually make. And if you are listening and you're just thinking like, I don't know if I want to talk to anybody about this. I don't know if I want to share my business with anyone. I want you to know that shame and embarrassment, its number one job is for you to hide so that you don't get help, so that you don't get support. And so there's no need to be embarrassed or ashamed because I promise you, most women in your situation are dealing with the same thing. It just doesn't look like it. Just like it doesn't look like you're dealing with it, it doesn't look like other women are dealing with it. But I promise you, most of us are because we were never taught. We were taught how to make money, but we weren't taught how to manage money in a way that will let us be financially secure and still experience the fruit of our labors, right? Still vacation, still travel, still look good. And I want you to know that it's possible for those two things, again, to coexist. And I would love to support you. All you have to do is go to jermainefoley.com/consult. That's Jermaine with a G, Foley.com/consult. And I would love to meet you. And we would look at where you are, where you want to be, and how money coaching, private money coaching can help bridge that gap so that you can feel good, not only about your lifestyle, but about your finances as well. All right. I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Hey, if money is the one area of life you just can't seem to figure out, even though you make good money, you're not alone. That's why you're invited to book a complimentary one-to-one money consultation with me so that we can figure out how to solve your biggest money challenges. To sign up, simply go to jermainefoley.com/consult or check out the show notes. Hope to meet you soon.